College football recruiting is truly the gift that just keeps on giving. And if you don't believe me, if you're ever bored not knowing what sporting news you want to look up, just dive into the college football recruiting world. And not only for your team, and you'll realize how many intriguing storylines there are out there. And today, we need to dive into one such storyline because a four-star offensive lineman, Knijeah Harris, has made their collegiate decision, picking the Florida Gators over the likes of Miami, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. We need to break down what this means for Florida, but also what it means for all the institutions he didn't pick. Before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no, and given that 3 out of the 5 institutions were located outside the state of Florida, are you surprised that Knijeah Harris stays home? If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed the content, like and comment down below as those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But having said all that, let's jump right into this, and we're going to start with what this means for the Florida Gators, in which case there are several different layers to this, but we always have to start with layer 1. And layer 1 is the talent Knijeah Harris possesses, in which case he was just outside the top 300 players in the nation, coming in at number 301. But inevitably, this is someone who attends IMG, and when you attend IMG, you know you're going to get top tier coaching, you know you're going to be playing other guys that are being looked at by colleges, and so because of that, you get a really nice picture and an idea that this is an individual that has a much higher chance of translating, and that in and of itself is awesome. So whenever you get in someone from IMG, it's already a great win, especially if you're located in the state of Florida, and especially if you're Billy Napier, being that this is your first year as the Florida Gators head coach, and going in, walking into IMG and winning that battle over some of these institutions that have been quite successful at recruiting IMG is a great way to start off your tenure by keeping that connection live and well, so that in the future, you know that you can go there and you've won battles out that institution. So what a great start for Billy Napier, and that's something that Florida wants to continue, because when we look holistically at this, if we peer the lens back a little bit and we take a look at the top 300 players in the nation, a disproportionate amount of those players hail from one of 2 states, either Texas or Florida. And if you don't believe me, 107 out of the top 300 players in all of high school football are located in one of those 2 states. 50 in the state of Texas and 57 in the state of Florida. So if you are the Florida Gators and you can double down and keep that talent home, well, you're inevitably putting yourself in a much higher chance to be successful than if those guys are looking elsewhere. So that's why this is so intriguing. On top of that is the position he plays, an interior offensive lineman. This kid has got a lot of athleticism. He's going to be a really nice guard. I'm interested to see how he continues to develop, but that in and of itself is something you just don't argue with. Getting in blue chip offensive linemen, I talk until I'm blue in the face about the importance of offensive line development and recruiting, because it's never a surprise when these guys come in and need to sit a year. That's completely normal. Because of that, you have got to continually recruit that position at a high level, and getting in a Knijeah Harris is a great way to make sure you're identifying needs and keeping those needs in a place where you have quite a bit of faith that the guys you're bringing in are going to be able to satisfy it. So what does this mean for the teams not named Florida? And we will start with the other in-state team in Miami. And this is a battle that if you are Billy Napier, you're even happier that you got to keep Knijeah Harris away from Miami. And the reason is quite simple. It's because Mario Cristobal is an offensive line guy. That's something he prides himself in, and he is an elite recruiter. We know this. If you're a Miami fan or if you're not a Miami fan, real is real. And Mario Cristobal is a fantastic recruiter. So if you can win an offensive lineman in a battle with Mario Cristobal, and that offensive lineman is located in your state, you like the feeling of that, because not only are you keeping them away from an in-state rival, you're keeping them away from a guy who recruits the offensive line position at a very high level. However, because of that, if you are a Miami fan, even though this is a battle you would have loved to have won, you put complete faith in your head guy. You put complete faith in Mario Cristobal that, yeah, you win some, you lose some, but now we just need to go on, put the next guy up there and win that battle. And since you have Mario Cristobal, you have a decent chance of being able to win those battles. So for Miami, you're still in a really good position. And what I'm about to say affects every school he didn't commit to. And one of the things you love about when guys commit this early is if you're Florida, you get Knijeah Harris in your class, he can start recruiting for you, and that's great for Florida. If you're one of the 4 schools not named Florida, now you know where to prioritize. And I'm not saying they're going to cut off contact from Knijeah Harris. I would be shocked if that was the case. But what I am saying is they'll know, okay, he's with Florida, we're going to keep in contact, but now we know we need to push this guy harder. Instead of if these battles are dragged on until National Signing Day and all of your eggs are in that basket, you don't have time to make up that loss. When they commit this early, you're given so much time to re-identify, reassess, and move forward. So that is a really good thing for all of these institutions on this list not named Florida. For Texas A&M has continually recruited the offensive line at a very high level, and on top of that, when we actually look at the offensive line play Texas A&M has gotten, it has been really, really, really nice. Now, that's going to have to be something we watch this year with a new offensive line coach. However, I have no reason to expect that Texas A&M's actual offensive line play will dip any. They were a really solid unit last year. They were an incredibly solid unit the year before. And so this is something that they would have loved to get Knijeah Harris in, but they're very comfortable with what they currently have. And if you're the Oklahoma Sooners, this is one where, once again, Bill Bedenbaugh is going to find himself in multiple other battles for top-tier offensive linemen. And ultimately what this does is gives you an indication of where you need to reprioritize. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think this needed to be said a lot earlier, and that's completely on me for not saying it earlier. It's not all that surprising that Knijeah Harris is going to Florida. So if I was answering the question I posed at the beginning of this video, my answer would be no. I'm not surprised at all that he's staying in the state of Florida, and I'm even less surprised that he's going to the Florida Gators. However, that does not diminish how big of a win that is for Billy Napier. And finally, the Alabama Crimson Tide are sitting in a situation where this is a team that's offensive line is something that the Crimson Tide faithful are going to be watching very carefully, both in terms of this recruiting class, but also in terms of the play on the field. Because Alabama has been able to recruit offensive linemen well, but now they're waiting for those guys to show up and develop. And in the meantime, you want to continue recruiting the offensive line well. So just like I said, Alabama gets in a new offensive line coach, and luckily for the Crimson Tide, this occurs in May, where they have the entire summer to look at other names, look at other people, and reprioritize. So this is something that, while all these institutions would have loved to have gotten Knijeah Harris in, and this is a great win for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators, all these institutions are simultaneously very happy this happened now, because now they know for sure, okay, well, he didn't commit to us. We can still maintain contact in case he ends up decommitting. But at the end of the day, we now know we need to prioritize these guys harder because we have a much more likelihood of being successful in those battles. So even though it's not a win-win, it's one of those situations where for Florida, this is an absolute win. For the rest of these schools, you're just very happy that this happened now, and you have so much time to make up ground. So because of that, while you would have loved to have gotten Knijeah Harris, you're not losing a ton of sleep over not getting him. And that's not a shot about how talented he is. All of these institutions would have welcomed Knijeah Harris with open arms. I guarantee you that. But it's just to drive home the point. You got a lot of time to go. You got a lot of conversations to have. And now you just kind of get more of an answer of, okay, well, this is where we need to focus our efforts. So, very interested in hearing from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about all of this. I'm super intrigued in the Florida schools and their recruiting and how they're going to battle not only with each other, but from all these other schools that have been so successful at just walking into the state of Florida and walking out with their talent. That's something that's got to change, and this Florida schools did a great job in identifying head coaches in terms of Mario Cristobal and Billy Napier. If there were 2 names that I had faith, those guys could probably get it done. It's those 2. So, really interested to see all of that. Really interested to see the continuation of recruiting. It's one of my favorite things. And more than that, I can't wait to hear from y'all. That's it. See ya.